All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Best Self Blueprint. So, as you all know, the mission of this podcast is to bring on people with the knowledge, insights, and experience as to what it takes to move that dial towards truly becoming the best version of yourself. So, this next guest has had tremendous success in a wide variety of arenas. She dominated as a pole vaulter in high school and continued the sport as a student athlete at UW Madison, where she won 3 Big Ten championships. In addition to that, she joined the Team Ninja Warrior College Madness tournament with 2 other UW-Madison students where they won the entire tournament. And I think she had never done it before that. So that's just insane. Since then, she's made a name for herself in the sport of Ninja Warrior after competing on the show American Ninja Warrior seasons 11 and 12. And outside of her athletic achievements, she's also a fitness and lifestyle model, owns her own photography business, works as a freelance social media marketer, designs and creates polymer clay earrings, all while working a full-time job. This side hustle queen is someone I've been fortunate enough to know and learn from, and I am very excited for you all to learn from her too. So, to officially introduce Taylor Amann, how's it going?
Oh, good. How are you? Thanks for having me, Trevor.
You bet. I have been waiting for this one for a while, as you well know. So I'm glad we were able to sit down and dive into it. So let's do just that. I want to start with time management. What's your process? Because as someone who just has a lot of different things going on, I'm sure you have some type of process to weed out the unnecessary things. So what's your process for deciding how to spend your time, and how do you make sure you like keep track of it all?
Yeah, so I have a 9 to 5 job, so that's kind of the priority always. And that's kind of like what I have during that set time. But other than that, it kind of depends on what I'm more interested in or what's more important at the time or kind of just what I can make time for. So it gets tough definitely when I have a lot going on, and I typically do have a lot that I'm doing during one time, but yeah, just I kind of just prioritize based on my interests mostly.
Yeah, so I want to dive into that because from the intro, if people can't pick it up, you have a lot of interests, and I think everybody does, but the difference is you pursue them and actually dive into them. So, as someone who has a lot of interests that you actively go out and pursue, what's your perspective on the benefit of actually like diving into them and not just saying like, "Oh, that might be interesting"?
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a sad life if you're interested in something or wanna do something and you never even try it, because you could be really good at something and have no idea. So for me, I feel like I just dabble in a lot of different things, and I've tried things before that didn't necessarily work out, or I started it and I'm kinda like, "Eh, like, this isn't really my passion," so you don't go for it, but you have to try. You have to at least try and put yourself out there and, just you never know what's gonna come out of it.
Yeah, and I think, in my opinion, that's what life really is all about, is just getting as many experiences as you can, and a part of that is diversifying your experiences. And so I call it like putting the feelers out, and I always do like putting the feelers out. So you dive into all these different avenues, you test them out, and then yeah, if you like it, test it out a little more, and then you can audit and go back and see, okay, like what am I really interested in, and kind of put your eggs in that basket. But I like that you set the example of like, at least go out and try it. So
Yeah. Yeah, you never
now,
know.
what's your process of, because I'm sure with all the variety of things you're doing, you meet a lot of different people, you have a lot of different friend groups. Do you have any type of like prioritization method of like who you invest your time in?
Um, in terms of, like, friends and family,
Yeah, just
um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess, like, the people that are most important to me are the people, um, that are most positive and kind of motivate me. Like, I don't wanna hang out with people that bring me down or they just complain the whole time we're hanging out because that kinda just brings me down a little bit. So, yeah, I guess just the people that I wanna spend time with, like, I actually make time for those people.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people who want to be doing things that they're not doing, or want to be, achieving things or not achieving, a big thing to look at is who you are spending your time with. Like you talked about, if you always feel negative and down, like, are the people you're spending your time with like that? Because it has a really big snowball effect. And that's something I preach all the time is like, if you want to fly with eagles, don't sit with pigeons.
I like that.
So yeah,
But it's true, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think we could dive into that pretty far, but at the basis of it, like for people who have bigger dreams, bigger goals, bigger aspirations, like make sure you're surrounding yourself with the people who not only are going to be your running buddy in that and like achieve things with you and become more evolved with you, but like cheer you on. I think it's important to have
Right.
cheerleaders in your life.
Yeah, and if you have an interest somewhere, it's good to network and put yourself out there that way too, because you could find a mentor or a friend that could just help you in a lot of ways in that industry if they've been in it longer than you or whatnot. It's just really good to network with people that will be beneficial to your interests.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a conversation. One of my friends, I would call him acquaintance to friend, somewhere in the middle there, was asking me, is like, well, how do you find these people for the podcast? Like, how are you able to just meet these cool people, these successful people? I was like, I like brought that third grade mentality of like sending someone a note like, hey, want to be my friend? Like I do that. I send them an email,
That's
I
what you
send
gotta
them a
do.
message. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, you seem cool. Like I'd love to hang out. I'd love to talk. And you'd
Yeah,
be surprised the amazing people you can meet and those running buddies you can really find.
right. Yeah,
So I
that's
love that.
awesome.
Now, what's your advice for someone? Because I know you're big on this. What's your advice for someone who wants to pick up a new hobby or wants to instill more passion and joy in their life, but is either too scared to do it or they have the excuse of like, oh, I'm just too busy. I don't have enough time. I have too many things going on. Like, what's your advice for like first steps to take?
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand people being afraid to try something, like, they don't even know where to start because there's so many people doing it that are just they think they're better than them. Um, and also, I just feel like I don't know, it's good to just at least try like, you can do the smallest steps to kind of get your foot in the door in the direction you wanna be. But, like, I work a full-time job, so I totally get being busy. And I wanna work out after work. I have other side hustles, like, I wanna see friends, I wanna have a social life. Um, I don't know, like, there is time. There's definitely time. Like, even people that it's hard for them to work out every day, like, you really only need, like, a 15 to 30-minute workout a day, and that can go a long way. So, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time up front. It could be gradual, I feel like. You could just start a little each day or a little every other day, and just see where that takes you. See if
Yeah, I
yeah.
want to dive into and let me know like what you think of this, but what you talked about, like people are afraid to start because they're afraid they won't be good. Unfortunately, I think a large part of that has to do with comparison. So like you said, like let's say I want to get into like cars. I don't know. I want to be a car salesman, but I decide not to because I don't know anything about cars. And then I look at other car salesmen and they know everything there is to know.
Mhm.
Now, it's a weird example, but to bring it back, like you you see the current circumstance of their success, but you don't see the time and effort that it took them to get there. I
Right.
think that's what people have to understand is like the comparison game is dangerous when you start neglecting the fact that that person has put in a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of practice, and they've
Right,
failed a
exactly.
lot to get to where they are. And so
Mhm.
it's just something as scary as it is, you have to be willing to go through that weird initial phase of falling down.
Right. Nothing happens overnight. So, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I always when I think about this, I always think about like when you learn to walk as a baby, it's not like you fell down 2 or 3 times, you're like, "Ah, nope, not for me. I'm just no, I'm gonna crawl. Don't worry
Right.
about it." Like, you have to bring that mentality of if it's something that you really care about and that you really are passionate about, and if it's fun for you, like, don't worry as much about the result, like, enjoy the process of it.
Right. Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, and then going into you talked about training a little bit. So I completely agree. Depending on what your goals are, obviously, if you're looking to do like some ultra endurance thing, you might need more than 15 to 30 minutes. But for
Mhm.
most people who are just looking to stay healthy, stay fit, you really only need 15 to 30 minutes. So, with your full time job, with everything else you have going on, what is kind of like your training regimen to keep you in shape for the things you're doing?
Yeah, lately I'm trying to get in the gym every single day. Obviously, some days like something comes up or whatnot, but um, I usually spend like an hour to an hour and a half in the gym each day. So it's alternating between like upper body, lower body, cardio, ninja training. So yeah.
And I want to ask you because I think you're a good person to ask this. I've been in this situation. I'm sure you've been in this situation. You get done with a long day of work. You really don't want to go to the gym. What do you do to get yourself to go despite like I could easily just go home, nobody's going to know, nobody's going to care. Like what gets you to still do the thing when you're in that mindset?
Yeah, that was actually me last night. I came home from work, took a nap, and I'm like, it's dark out. Like, why? I don't want to go to the gym right now. Like, I was so tired. Um, but I remember my goals. I know what I want to accomplish, and it's not going to help if I stay in when I knew I should be going to the gym. So I don't know. I guess I just like remember what I'm at, like trying to get after. Like I know that's hard to do sometimes, but I don't know, you just gotta stick with a plan. Sometimes if I write it out in my journal or not my journal, sorry, my calendar, um, for the week, it definitely helps, like, having that in there, a set workout time, even though if I'm just going to the gym, like, it's nice to put it in there ahead of time, so I kinda hold myself accountable.
Yeah, so there's a couple things in there. One, I think there's a compound effect of when you say you're going to do something and then despite not wanting to, you do it, you build almost like a credit with yourself where then you're more likely to do it again because you've built up that mental toughness a little bit.
Mhm.
But also with like what you were talking about, like I know what I want, and just even though like right now a nap and laying on the couch sounds better, what I want most is to be fit, to be healthy, to have um that lifestyle. And I always preach on here like what you want most should trump what you want now.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
true.
right now I want to down a bag of Doritos and have 5 beers, but in 3 months I want to be on the beach like feeling good about how I look, I'm not going to go in on the Doritos and beer. And so it's important to tether yourself to a strong why, which it sounds like you've done.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
And I'm curious for you, because for me, what I do is I try to take it off of myself as much as possible because I feel like when you're doing something for other people, you're more likely to do it than when it's just you doing it for you. So what I do is I say like, okay, obviously we're both in the health and fitness space. And if I'm preaching to people like, oh, go get your workout in, go eat right, do all these things, and then I'm skipping the gym half the time I'm supposed to be going, how can I feel good about setting an example for other people that I'm trying to teach how to do this if I don't do it? Do
Mhm.
you do anything like that where you kind of like take it off yourself and think about like doing it for your family, doing it for the people who look up to you, anything like that?
I don't know if this answers your question, but, um, like, sometimes I'll post on Instagram, my workout for the night, like, before I do the workout, because then it's like, I know I have to do this workout, like, I'm sharing it with my followers and my friends, because I want them to be motivated from that, get inspired, want to maybe do that workout too, um, and by posting it ahead of time, like, I literally have to do it. I don't know if that answers your question, but that just kind of came to my head when you said that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I'm actually gonna do a post. I very rarely plan out my posts, but in June I'm gonna be doing a 24-hour endurance race.
Oh.
And right now I'm like on the fence. So I'm like, if I make a post saying like just started my first week of training, then people are gonna be
Yep.
on me like, so how's
Yeah, you
training
gotta do
going?
it
So I
then.
completely agree. And I think one good piece of advice for people out of that little segment is if you feel like you're not going to hold yourself accountable, tell someone else about it who you know will hold you accountable.
Mhm.
Everybody has that one friend or multiple friends who will get on you if you don't do it. So just
Right.
pick someone, whether it's your followers, your friends, your family, who will really make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I like the follower thing. And it's funny, I was just thinking about doing that too.
Yeah, it works. It's really good. Motivates me.
So to get into, we talked about training. You mentioned like it's just a daily thing. It's a non-negotiable. What are some of those other non-negotiables, whether it's like on a daily basis or just something you do regularly? It can be like journaling or meditating or making your bed or drinking water. Like, what are some things that you do that you'd recommend people pick up?
Yeah, I'm actually doing my own version of 75 Day Hard right now. 'Cause I didn't really like the one that most people are doing, so I kinda
Okay.
switched it up a little bit. So every morning I wake up and I read the Daily Stoic and my daily devotional, and my devotional has, like, a little journaling in it. There's, like, 3 question prompts. Um, and then I read 10 pages a day. I usually do that before bed. One workout a day, at least 30 minutes, which is usually easy for me to do anyway. But what else is in there? Just like mindful eating and drinking. So, like, I don't know. I feel like I don't have a set diet, but I just want to be mindful of what I'm eating, what I'm consuming, and just be good about that. But yeah, those are definitely musts in every day.
I completely agree with the mindful eating. So for the longest time, I was that person who like you would serve me the food, go do something and come back and it's gone. Like I would just shovel it in and I didn't appreciate the food I was eating. I took it for granted. It was just a given meal, but when you do mindful eating, you actively think about like, okay, what's on my plate? Like what am I putting in my body? How does it
Yeah.
taste? Like how do I feel after I eat it? And if you're not sure if what you're eating is like good for you, really be mindful not only of like what you're eating, but how you feel after you eat it. Because oftentimes a cheeseburger with, all the works on it will taste really good, but then you feel like garbage after you eat it.
Right.
And that's not to say eat a cheeseburger if you want to eat a cheeseburger. I'm not a nutritionist, but I love the idea of mindful eating. Now, talk about this. The Daily Stoic, is that a book by a guy named Ryan Holiday?
Yes.
Okay, so I've heard about that book, but I haven't actually looked it up. What is that? Like, what is the Daily Stoic about?
Um, so each day it's like a daily devotional I don't know if I would call it a devotional. It's like each page has a date on it. So today's it would have like a little quote on it and then just a little paragraph about that quote. Let me think. Today's was about have you read the book what is it called? I can't think of it right now. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you read
Yes,
that?
love that book.
So there's like a quote from that book about beginning with the end in mind. And then there's just like a short paragraph kind of explaining it and how to apply it to your life, basically. So just a really good paragraph to read right when you get up in the morning before you start your day.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something I preach it, whether it's, getting a book like that, whether it's doing some type of mindfulness practice, whether it's, getting up and dancing right away first thing, like do something to start your day off on a positive note.
Yeah.
So like for me, I'll usually do, as funny as this is, I'll tell everybody. So I do, before I start my day, I get up and before I get out of bed, I say 3 things I'm grateful for. One of them has to be like existential, one of them has to be extremely tiny, and then the third can be whatever I want. So like this morning I was thankful for the volume dial on my car was one of them.
Oh my gosh.
So it's things like that. So I do that.
I like
I get
it.
out of bed and with no music on, I just start dancing. So it's one of those things as silly and like weird as it sounds. I start my day off on such a positive note. And so
That's
I
great.
I recommend, and it sounds like it works really well for you. Maybe not the dancing part, but the something to fill yourself with positivity to kick off the
Mhm.
day, I think
Right.
is
Yeah,
huge.
whatever it is,
Yeah,
it's something. Yeah.
I love that. All right. with all the things that you have going on, do you have any like big goals going into 2021? Like any big athletic achievements or any big business things or like life things that you want to make sure you get done in 2021?
Yeah, I definitely wanna go back on Ninja Warrior, so hopefully season 13 here, approaching soon. Um, Also, I want to grow my photography business more. I have a few weddings booked for 2021 right now, so hopefully I get to book some for 2022. And just kind of keep building my website, keep getting experience, different types of experience. I want to travel, hopefully someday here soon. I don't know when that's going to be, but I actually just got my passport in May for my birthday. I wanted to go somewhere, but that didn't happen. But I'd love to go travel somewhere and do kind of like a fake little photo shoot with a couple to promote elopement weddings because I'd love to do those someday. So that'd be really cool.
That's cool. So you got like plans for a couple different areas. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got one more question and then we'll get into, I have like a little finale. It's a final two, but
Okay.
my last question, cause I want to hear your perspective on this. I think it's different than your average, like high performer or high achiever. You've obviously been able to perform at a high level, do really well relative to the people you're competing against, and you keep doing that with each level up you go. What, whether it's mindset, whether it's training, whether it's just overall attitude, like what do you think it is that allows you to keep moving the dial in a way that doesn't like get you super stressed or burnt out?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of perspective, and also confidence. Like, the more I do something, the more confident I get. I just remember with pole vault, in college, I was super nervous freshman year for, like, every single competition. But I just kept practicing, kind of working through that. And then I was gradually kind of getting better, which I feel like has a lot to do with my confidence. Like I just like trusted myself. I knew what I was capable of and I knew that I could do it. So honestly, like just knowing what you can do kind of makes you better in a way. Like, I don't know. There's just something about um, the positive attitude and just knowing you can do it and trusting that.
Yeah, so I think it's a feedback loop. So the way I picture this is like two dots with arrows going around in a circle. One dot is positive attitude, confidence, positive mindset. The other one is physical work. So
Mhm.
when you have like a good attitude, confidence, all that, you're willing to put in the work because you feel better. And when you put in more work, you're going to feel better about the
Right.
confidence. So if you don't feel confident, just start putting in the work. Naturally, you're
Mhm.
going to feel more able, you're going to feel more confident, you're going to feel more skilled,
Right.
and then that feedback loop kicks in. So I absolutely love that. I think that's so true for anybody, regardless of what they're trying to do.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm a huge advocate for mindset. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, everyone has a bad day here and there. Like, I remember pole vault practice, like, there'd be a bad day once in a while, but just putting in the work the next practice and just knowing even if it didn't go as well as you wanted, even if I didn't clear the height I wanted to in practice, like, just knowing that I'm working hard at it and trying hard, it definitely made me more confident and motivated.
yeah, which I don't know if you'll share this perspective, but my thing has always been, and I've said it on here before, I would rather, like, for me, it's mostly OCR that I compete hard at, we'll say, but I would rather run a race, not podium, not place high at all, but feel really good about the effort I put in
Mhm.
than go out podium on a race, but know that I could have like done a lot better, gone
Yeah.
faster. I care so much more about the effort that I put in than the trophy, the prize, the praise, anything else.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Now, a natural byproduct usually is the trophy, the prize, all that. But I think really it should start internally with like, are you proud of the work you're putting in?
Right.
And I think that ties back into confidence too. So
Yeah, for
sweet.
sure.
All right, so we will get into the final two, but before that, I think there are a lot of people who would love to connect with you, follow you, ask questions, whether it's about athletics, whether it's about, you know, clay earrings, whether it's about side hustles, finding time,
Hmm.
confidence building. Where can people connect with you to ask questions?
Yeah, people can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram. I have a website, um, email, whatever works for people.
Sweet. And
Yeah.
I'll make sure I put your website in the show notes as well. That's for the
Okay.
photography.
That's kind of, I originally made it for photography, but now it's kind of like my blog, photography. I'm doing like, I have like another business idea coming too. So that's coming soon on my website, but there's just a lot. It's just kind of like my life, basically, just everything that I'm doing. So,
Cool. All right.
yeah.
That will be in the show notes. So
Cool.
for the final two, it's two questions. One of them is less of a question, but we'll get to that. So the first question, what right now is the biggest obstacle between you and your best self?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Um, the biggest obstacle right now. Hmm, probably my mind. Like, like I know we were talking about how I want to do something and I always do it. Um, I feel like I don't know, some days like it's tough. Like you have a new idea and you get discouraged in a way because it's just different than what you're used to, or you don't even know how to begin. So I feel like, yeah, I guess like my mind is my biggest obstacle because really, like, you can do whatever you want to do. It's just you got to go do it. And sometimes your mind's telling you otherwise.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that's as not to, be mean or rude to you. I'm glad that's your biggest obstacle right now because I think it shows people like even people who are doing as much as you're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
struggle with that. Like that's
Mhm.
so powerful. And I'm really hoping people lean in and like listen to you because
Mhm.
when you see all the things you've done and all the things you're doing, to hear you say like there are plenty of things I want to try, but I just, there's a
Mhm.
certain fear around it. I think that's huge. So all the best of luck with that. I'm sure you'll be
Thank
fine.
you.
Everyone has days like that.
Yeah.
There's nobody on this earth who is every single idea they've had and everything they've wanted to pursue, they've done it. Everyone's
Mhm.
had those, whether it's barriers to entry, whether it's mindset, whether it's lack of motivation. Um, so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to people hearing that from you in particular.
Yeah.
So the last question, again, less of a question, but throughout the duration of the interview, the talk, the podcast, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty much just a back and forth between us. This is where I want you to directly target the audience, stare into the camera, and let them know if you could challenge the audience to do one thing, like something they could like check off that would either teach them like a life lesson or better them in some way, what would be the challenge that you'd give to listeners?
I think, okay, listeners, I think you should, whatever you're interested in or wanting to do, just take one small step. So whether that's taking an online course for something to learn something, or whether it's picking up a book about it, or whether it's purchasing a camera to play around with, or just anything, just take one little step. Um, and that could go a long way. You never know what's going to come out of it.
I agree. I think so. First of all, I make sure that every guest knows I'm going to be doing that as well. So there is an endless list of things that I want to do. So I think for people listening, pick something, pick anything, and just start. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. And I love the simplicity of it. I'll make sure that I do that as well. Right now, I'm actually looking into getting into music a little bit. I
Really?
love music. I just love the universal emotion of it. Um, And so I've been thinking about getting into like songwriting or creating an album of some
Nice.
sort. So
Yeah.
I'll start with that. So I'll
Cool. Yeah. Start with
practice what
that.
I preach. But everybody listening, you've got the challenge. Um, I think that'll do it for the informational part of the podcast. So Taylor,
Cool.
I always make sure I acknowledge guests who come on, and I really want to acknowledge you for being the side hustle queen, for showing people that despite having a 9 to 5, despite, kind of the routine things that you have to do throughout the day, and despite having a social life, you can still pursue passions, you can still chase dreams and make big things happen. And I know for a fact that you inspire a lot of people in athletics, in lifestyle, in mindset, in all these different ways. And I want to thank you for setting such a good example for everybody. I want to thank you for being willing to sit down and dish out some knowledge.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. So for everybody listening, I can guarantee if you got to this point, you took many, many lessons out of this talk. If you have questions, comments, words of wisdom, rebuttals, comment. That's why the comment box is there. And as always, if you know someone who you really think this particular conversation would help, that's why the share button is there. So make sure that you share it with people. That's the reason for this podcast. It's a free resource to get out to people. So make sure you do that. And until next time, we will see you later.